In a laboratory setting, an octopus begins to systematically eat its own arms. This isn't a response to hunger or a predator. It's a behavior known as autophagy, a physical symptom of a deep systemic breakdown that has puzzled scientists for decades. Here is an animal possessing a nervous system with the neuron count of a small mammal, a mind demonstrably capable of sophisticated learning, memory, and even play, engaging in what appears to be a deliberate yet utterly catastrophic act. This isn't an isolated pathology. Across aquariums and research facilities worldwide, these intelligent creatures are observed displaying behaviors alien to their wild counterparts. Endless, repetitive motions, listlessness, or a refusal to eat. This is stereopathy, a ghost in the machine. Are we witnessing octopus depression? Or is the very question a fundamental misunderstanding of this alien mind? To even approach an answer, you must first dismantle your idea of a brain. An octopus's consciousness, if we can call it that, is not headquartered in a single cranial command center. It is a radically decentralized system. Of its roughly 500 million neurons, a staggering 2/3 reside not in the central brain, but are distributed throughout its 8 arms. Each arm is equipped with a sophisticated ganglion, allowing it to touch, taste, and move with a high degree of autonomy. One arm might be busy exploring the texture of a rock while another is working to unscrew a jar, all without direct moment-to-moment input from the central brain. It is less a single pilot in a machine and more of a networked collective, a committee of intelligences cohabiting a single fluid body. This profoundly different neurobiology is governed by an equally alien life cycle, one that often concludes in a form of programmed self-destruction. After a female octopus lays her clutch of eggs, her fate is sealed by a pair of tiny glands nestled between her large eyes. These are the optic glands. In a stunning display of endocrine power, they cease producing hormones that regulate appetite and self-preservation, and instead begin secreting a cocktail of chemicals that initiates a rapid systemic decay. This process, known as senescence, is an evolutionary marvel, ensuring the mother will fiercely guard her eggs without the distraction of hunting or even feeding. She literally starves and tears herself apart, a living incubator whose only purpose is the future. The bizarre arm eating is often a direct, observable consequence of this internal biological script going awry. So what happens when you take this exquisitely tuned biological programming and drop it into an environment of profound sensory deprivation? The ocean floor is an impossibly rich tapestry of information. Fluctuating temperatures, shifting currents, the chemical trails of predator and prey, the complex textures of rock and sand. It is a world of constant, meaningful stimulation. A glass box filled with purified water, by contrast, is a featureless void, an acoustic hall of mirrors. A growing body of research suggests that chronic stress, born from this stark environmental poverty, can trick the optic glands into initiating their fatal sequence prematurely. The animal's finely calibrated internal clock, meant to be synced with the rhythms of life and reproduction in the ocean, is shattered by the hammer of monotony. This isn't unique. It's the very same principle that drives a captive tiger to pace its enclosure for hours, a mind built for a continent, confined to a closet. But is it fair, or even accurate, to label this a mental health problem? The phrase is soaked in human context, built on our specific neurochemistry of serotonin and dopamine, our social structures, our existential fears. We can meticulously document the behavior, the stereotypy, the self-harm, the lethargy, but we remain locked out of the subjective experience, the raw qualia of being an octopus. Does its skin, which is covered in chromatophores and can react to light, contribute to a sense of self that is both visual and tactile? When one of its arms, acting on its own, explores a new object, what does the central brain feel? Our last common ancestor was likely a flatworm that lived over 600 million years ago. To map our psychology onto theirs isn't just a stretch. It's an attempt to bridge an evolutionary chasm wider than we can truly comprehend. And yet, the parallel is impossible to ignore. A demonstrably complex nervous system, when removed from its evolutionarily appropriate environment and subjected to chronic, low-level stress, begins to malfunction in pathological, self-destructive ways. This disturbing pattern emerges again and again in mammals, in birds, and in the deep alien lineage of cephalopods. It strongly suggests that perhaps mental distress is not an invention of the primate mind, but a convergent property of intelligence itself, a universal vulnerability that arises whenever a nervous system becomes complex enough to model its world, and therefore to recognize the profound wrongness of its own cage. When you look into an octopus's intelligent, unnervingly familiar eye, you are not just seeing a creature from another world. You might be seeing a reflection of a fundamental and perhaps tragic rule of consciousness itself.
Monotony has grown fast. Nearly 2,700 people have watched in the last few weeks, yet less than 0.03% are subscribed. It would mean a lot if you joined by hitting subscribe. And again, thanks for watching.